Okay, so on to month, what, 7? The 7? I think it's 7. Yes, 7. So this month we have 3 different embroidery blocks and 3 different sewn blocks. Our first block is from Garden Walk. It's one of those ones where we just make one. Okay. And I used gold 4 for the background. This is background number 5 is this fabric. It's one of our whites. And then the pattern called for green 3, but I used just some scraps of green 6 that I had to do the leaves. Okay. And I will take pictures of my pages and load them up too. So you'll have that to go back to. Okay. The second block is this one. And that one uses background 5, red 6 for the flowers, and green 5 for the leaves. On this one, I did make a change on Isacord step number 4. I changed that color to 640. The one that they had, I think, was a red, and with our red, it didn't show up at all. So I changed that to this yellow color, which I think is really pretty. The next block is this one. And I made that same change to that Isacord color and used 640 on those flower centers. So this one is background number 4, red 6, and green 5, just like the other one. The flowers and the leaves are the same color. So if you have a cutting machine and are using a cutting machine, you're going to be very happy because all the flowers on both of these are the same size. The leaves are the same size. So you would cut out 40 of these flowers. Thankful to have a cutting machine, right? And 8 times 2 is 16 of these leaves. So I was glad to have a cutting machine for sure on that one. So the block, this block we've made before, right? A couple times now. This one I used background 1 and then green 4 and red 1. I noticed Mary had used, I think she switched these, which totally up to you what you do. I mean, it's your quilt. Make changes. Get creative. You have the license to do so. Yep, see, she just flipped them. And sometimes it's about how much of that fabric you have. So you go right ahead. More power to you. I love it. The next 2 are a little bit trickier. Okay, they're the diamond blocks that we have been doing these diamond blocks, but the instructions for this block for our quilt are wrong. Okay, so if you go to Garden Walk in your pattern and go to page 5, you'll see on there that it tells you to cut 3. Let me get this out and I'll show you. I don't know if it's backward for you, but right here, it says to cut 3.5 inch blocks. We need 4. And they have you cut 1 3.5 inch block out of here. So you would actually have 4 blocks one block that is different than the others. And the placement in our quilt, they need to be the same because they're too close together in our quilt. And your eye would just go right to that. It would just look off. Okay. So just make these strips 3.5 inches longer for this one. So you can get 4 out of there, or do like I did and I just pieced one together. Because what you're doing is you're taking these 3.5 inch pieces and making this block. Okay. So that you don't have to do something twice. Because this stripy thing comes from this. Okay. And Mary didn't have to worry about that because she changed her colors in her block. So she just did her own thing, which they looked amazing, by the way. Let me give you the colors on what I used. And if you have an oops kit, it just makes your life way easier because you can just do whatever you want whenever you want. You can make any changes. So on this one, I use red 6 for this. I really like that red 6. I think it's that fabric is really pretty. Brown 3 is right here. Gold 2 is the center. Background 4. And I use background 4 here because it called for background 5, but I didn't have a long enough strip to cut after I did my other pieces. So I used this one, which we don't find in any great quantity anywhere else in the quilt. So you're safe. That's a safe bet. And I really like this small little pattern on there. It's very pretty. And then this outside gold is gold 4. And so that's our little 9-patch center with our diamonds on the outside. So, and then after you do your slicing, you have these pieces, which ends up being your center, right? So that's red 6 and gold 2 here that we just used, and then brown 3 and green 3. And these went together very fast because you were already cut. You already had those cuts, so it did go nice and quickly. Usually diamond blocks take me a little bit longer because there's lots of trimming in between. So any questions? You can unmute, and if you have any questions for me.